I like the dog. It's friendly.
Well, hello, and season's greetings to you.
Come in and know me better, man.
I hope you're enjoying the holiday season. Please forgive my stuffy voice. I've picked up a bit of a cold. But before we get into the video and all that other good nonsense, I want to say a quick thank you to everyone who supported the channel this year. I love making these videos, and it means so much to me to know that other people enjoy them too. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description box. I only have one tier, so for as little as £3 a month, you can help the channel grow and have more of a say in the films and topics I cover. And I also want to give an extra special thank you to Veronica, John Cleveland and Runar, who have all supported me this month. And now, let's get into the video. This video contains spoilers, so if you haven't seen this particular episode or read the book, do that first and come back, because I'd hate to spoil anything for you. All you need to know is a grisly murder takes place in a stately home, and it takes place over Christmas. It's giving the original Knives Out. What more could you want? It's a good episode with a truly ingenious method of murder, and who doesn't love a cosy Christmas murder? The novel Hercule Poirot's Christmas was first published in the UK in December 1938. The episode of the ITV series first aired on the 1st of January 1995. And while I don't have any solid memories of watching it at the time, I know that I did, because even though I was, 13, 14, I was already a big fan of Poirot and would watch it religiously with my mum. The story involves Poirot being invited to the stately home of Simeon Lee, a rich patriarch who has invited his dysfunctional family to come home for Christmas. He contacts Poirot because he's concerned that his life will be in danger once he makes a certain announcement. And because Poirot's central heating is on the fritz, he accepts the invitation. I couldn't help but laugh on a rewatch of this episode in preparation for the video, because I spent all of November with no heating, because our boiler was also not working. So I genuinely feel for Poirot, who has no option, if he wants to stay warm this Christmas, but to join the Lee family, despite his intentions of having a quiet Christmas with a box of Belgian chocolates. I read the book just recently, and I'll be honest, it was okay. It didn't really give me the seasonal vibes that I was hoping for. I love curling up with a Poirot novel, and I was really hoping for some creepy, Christmassy ambiance. But sadly, it's not a very Christmassy book. There's no talk of snowdrifts or shiny baubles upon the tree. But there are some things I liked. In particular, this mystery has a victim who some might say had it coming. Which does happen from time to time in Christie's novels, but usually it's an innocent victim, and so the times where some truly loathsome character gets their comeuppance is always a bit of a dark treat. The majority of the book takes place in Simeon Lee's house, and despite its size, it feels more claustrophobic than cosy. The solution to the murder is smart, but the book feels a little rushed at the end. But overall, I would say it's a fairly enjoyable and grisly quick read. More than anything else, though, I was surprised and impressed that despite some of the changes, the episode is a surprisingly faithful adaptation. This episode takes place in pretty much one location, that of the fictional Gorston Hall. The exterior scenes were filmed in the village of Chilham in Kent, and Chilham Castle was used as Gorston Hall. Before I get into the episode itself, I want to highlight Christopher Gunning's reworking of the main theme. He was the composer who worked on Poirot from the beginning in 1989 to 2004, and who created Poirot's Christmas theme. It's such a cool take on the original tune, with the use of flutes that give it this slightly, medieval quality that really puts you in mind of old traditional Christmas music, and I love it. The episode starts with a scene set in South Africa in 1896. We meet two men who have found an area rich in uncut diamonds and are looking forward to being rich. Cut to, one of these men, named Simeon Lee, is murdering the other, and then he wanders off into the desert. At some point he passes out, and she has a large birthmark on her face, and she mentions that her father got tired of trying to marry her off, and so now she lives alone. She knows about the diamonds, but she kept them safe while Simeon was recuperating. She nurses him back to health, and they grow close. They sleep together, and when Stella wakes up in the morning, Simeon and his diamonds are gone. We then skip forward 40 years to Poirot and Japp discussing their plans for Christmas. This scene in South Africa doesn't appear in the book and was added in by screenwriter Clive Exton. Exton also swapped out the book character, Chief Constable Colonel Johnson, for Inspector Japp, and he got rid of the characters of Stephen Farr and David and Hilda Lee entirely. All changes that, in my opinion, make sense for the TV show. So let's meet our cast of characters. We have Simeon Lee, the patriarch, who's a shit. We have Pilar as Simeon's Spanish granddaughter through his deceased sister Jennifer. Harry, Alfred and George are Simeon's sons. Lydia is married to Alfred, and they live with Simeon at the house. Magdalene is married to George, who is I'm guessing Tory MP, and is just as horrible as his father. Harry is the black sheep of the family, and is not married. He flirts with his niece Pilar in a very uncomfortable way. We have Superintendent Sugden, a police officer investigating the case alongside Poirot and Japp, Tressilian, the butler, and Horbury, the valet. It turns out that Simeon had held on to those original uncut diamonds we saw in the prologue, and they'll come into play soon enough. Simeon calls a family meeting and reveals that his granddaughter Pilar is going to be staying at the house, and therefore the money that he gives to his sons will change. This does not go down well. After an uncomfortable exchange between everyone, after dinner, the various family members are separated, and they're all startled when a blood-curdling scream is heard from Simeon's room, alongside the sound of a loud struggle. His door is locked, and after they manage to batter the solid oak door down, they discover Simeon's body. The room is in disarray, and his throat has been slashed. The door is locked. Everyone's a suspect. Poirot contacts Inspector Japp, calling him away from what is clearly the most boring Christmas with his wife's family. A Superintendent Sugden arrives and explains that Simeon had called him earlier that night. He told him that his diamonds had been stolen. As everyone is standing around in shock, Superintendent Sugden notices Pilar pick something up from the crime scene. It's a small rubber ring and a wooden peg. Each of the family members is interviewed by Poirot, Japp and Sugden, and they all claim to be innocent of the theft and the murder. Later, Poirot finds the uncut diamonds mixed in with the stones of a decorative miniature garden, a hobby of Lydia's, which removes theft as a motive for the murder. As alibis are checked and rechecked, Poirot again converses with various members of the family, and certain things start to add up. Later, when Poirot bumps into Harry at the local pub, we see Poirot take notice of a woman with a distinctive accent and a familiar birthmark on her face. The butler, Tressilian, makes an offhand comment about how he feels like he's having a strong sense of déjà vu. There's something very familiar to him that he can't quite put his finger on. He feels as if he's reliving a certain moment over and over, but it's all very abstract, and it's not until the solution to this mystery is revealed that this particular moment starts to make sense. The family lawyer reads Simeon's will, which leaves half of his estate to his son Alfred, who runs the family business, and the other half to be split amongst his other children. Because he died before he could make any changes to the will, this leaves Pilar with nothing. Alfred and Harry agree to pool their inheritances to make a share for Pilar, but this act of kindness upsets her, and she refuses to touch any of the family money. Poirot picks up on Pilar's unwillingness to accept the cash from the family, plus her unwillingness to provide her passport to the police. This, alongside the strong family resemblance between Simeon's son, Poirot also notes that the Lee family knows how to hold a grudge, and in particular Simeon Lee's own propensity to wait years if it meant getting revenge for a past slight. All of this leads to the finale, where Poirot holds court, explaining the intricacies of the murder. The final clue comes from Pilar. She and Harry are playing with balloons, and after one bursts, she mentions that the pieces are like what she found on the floor when Simeon was murdered. Poirot warns her to be on her guard, as she knows more than she realizes. And as she returns to her room, she's attacked by an unseen assailant and almost killed. This prompts Poirot to do something most un-Poirot-like by sneaking into Pilar's room as she's resting and sneaks a look into her personal belongings, discovering her passport and the reason for her strange reaction to being financially taken care of by the family. Poirot reveals that Pilar Estravados is, in fact, Conchita Lopez. She was friends with the real Pilar, who was killed as the two friends crossed Spain as the Civil War was underway. She decided to take her place and have a little fun, only for the murder and subsequent kindness from the family to be unsettling to her. This means Harry is now free to flirt with Pilar again, although them being related didn't really stop him in the first place. Anyway, Superintendent Sugden tries to blame the murder on Pilar, but Poirot stops him in his tracks and reveals that Sugden was behind it all. Poirot reveals that Sugden is the illegitimate child of Simeon Lee, the offspring of the South African woman with the birthmark. Sugden came to resent being abandoned by his father, and he had planned his revenge very carefully. He had actually murdered Simeon hours before he set off an elaborate furniture collapse that caused the noises of a struggle everyone heard on the night of the murder. The small ring of rubber and wooden peg Pilar found on the floor is from something called the dying pig, a large pink balloon that makes the sound of a dying pig when you uninflate it. Sugden was able to release the balloon from outside of the room, causing the blood-curdling scream everyone heard. Poirot had figured out the relationship between Simeon and Sugden by noticing the shared mannerisms of Simeon's children, and also by placing a fake moustache on a portrait of young Simeon, noting the resemblance to Sugden. And with that, the mystery is solved. Pilar and Harry shack up together, and Poirot and Jap head home. There's a small, funny subplot involving Jap giving Poirot an unexpected Christmas present, which leads Poirot to look for a gift for Jap, and this ends up inadvertently helping to solve the crime. It's in this very shop where Poirot is shopping for Jap that he spots the dying pig. It's just a very sweet little part of the story that I love, and ever the snob, Poirot turns his nose up at a pair of lovely hand-knitted gloves, made by Jap's wife Emily, which admittedly are not Poirot's style, but they're a nice gift nonetheless. Snobby old Poirot. I really like this episode of the series. It's seasonal, it's fun, and it has a real twisty-turny plot that keeps you guessing right until the end. If you haven't seen this episode for a while, I definitely recommend seeking it out, especially at this time of year. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you know what to do. Let me know in the comments if you're a fan of the book, or the episode, or both. Do you think the episode did the book justice? Sound off below. I wish you all the best for 2024. Be kind to your pets. Read more. And stay spooky.
I'm going to give the people what they want. Sensation, horror, shock. Send them out in the streets to tell their friends how wonderful it is to be scared to death.